The Upanishads, translated by F. Max Muller, in two parts. Part 2, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 2nd Adhyaya, 5th Brahmana. This earth is the honey, Madhu, the fact of all beings, and all beings are the honey, Madhu, the fact of this earth. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this earth, that bright, immortal person incorporated in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This water is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this water. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this water, and that bright, immortal person existing as seed in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This fire is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this fire. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this fire, and that bright, immortal person existing as speech in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This air is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this air. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this air, and that bright, immortal person existing as breath in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This sun is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this sun. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this sun, and that bright, immortal person existing as the eye in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This space, the corners, is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this space. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this space, and that bright, immortal person existing as the ear in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This moon is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this moon. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this moon, and that bright, immortal person existing as mind in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This lightning is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this lightning. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this lightning, and that bright, immortal person existing as light in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This thunder is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this thunder. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this thunder, and that bright, immortal person existing as sound and voice in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This ether is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this ether. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this ether, and that bright, immortal person existing as heart ether in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This law, Dharma, is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this law. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this law, and that bright, immortal person existing as law in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This true, Satya, is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this true. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in what is true, and that bright, immortal person existing as the true in the body, both are Madhu. He indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This mankind is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this mankind. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in mankind, and that bright, immortal person existing as man in the body, he indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. This self is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this self. Likewise, this bright, immortal person in this self, and that bright, immortal person, the self, he indeed is the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. And verily this self is the Lord of all beings, the King of all beings, and as all spokes are contained in the axle and in the belly of a wheel, all beings and all those selves of the earth and water and so on are contained in that self. Verily, Davyak Atharvana proclaimed this, honey, the Madhu Vidya, to the two Asvins and Arisha. Seeing this said, Rigveda 1:16-12, O ye two heroes, Asvins, I make manifest that fearful deed of yours, which you performed for the sake of gain, like as thunder makes manifest the rain, the honey, Madhu Vidya, which Davyak Atharvana proclaimed to you through the head of a horse. Verily, Davyak Atharvana proclaimed this honey to the two Asvins, and Arisha, seeing this, said, Rigveda 1:17-22, O Asvins, you fixed a horse's head on Atharvana, Davyak, and he, wishing to be true to his promise, proclaimed to you the honey, both that of Tvashtra and that which is to be your secret, O ye strong ones. Verily, Davyak Atharvana proclaimed this honey to the two Asvins, and Arisha, seeing this, said, He, the Lord, made bodies with 2 feet, he made bodies with 4 feet, having first become a bird, he entered the bodies as Purusha, as the person. This very Purusha is in all bodies the Purusaya, i.e. who lies in the body, and is therefore called Purusha. I should have said it, i.e. he who lies in the body. There is nothing that is not covered by him, nothing that is not filled by him. Verily, Davyak Atharvana proclaimed this honey to the two Asvins, and Arisha, seeing this, said, Rigveda 6:47-18. He, the Lord, became like unto every form, and this is meant to reveal the true form of him, Atman. Indra, the Lord, appears multiform through the Mayas, appearances, for his horses, senses, are yoked hundreds and tens. This Atman is the horses, this Atman is the 10 and thousands, many and endless. This is the Brahman, without cause and without effect, without anything inside or outside. This self is Brahman, omnipresent and omniscient. This is the teaching of the Upanishad. And one kind of sees why we end up with some of this ritual use of honey and stuff used from honey related to this. And we become like the various saints and stuff, and poets and stuff like this when we go down that path. But so verse 19 here, every form, he assumed all forms, and such forms as 2-footed or 4-footed animals remain permanent. Verse 17, Tvashtra. Sankara explains Tvashtra as the sun, and the sun as the head of the sacrifice, which, having been cut off, was to be replaced by the Pravargya rite. The knowledge of this rite forms the honey of Tvashtra. The other honey, which is to be kept secret, is the knowledge of the self, as taught before in the Madhu Brahmana. 17. Atharvana Sankara distinguishes here between Atharvana and Atharvana, if the text is correct, along with the first. Like thunder, verse 16, Tanyatu here explained as Paraganya. For the sake of gang, also in verse 16, the translation here follows the commentary. And this truth in 12 here, Satyam, the true, the real, not as is generally translated, the truth. Note 1, verse 9, the thunder. Stana Yitnu, thunder, is explained by the commentator as Paraganya. And the fifth, Brahmana Madhyandina text, page 1064, and both are Madhu. So Madhu, honey, seems to be taken here as an instance of something which is both cause and effect, or rather of things which are mutually dependent on each other, or cannot exist without one another, as the bees make the honey, and the honey makes or supports the bees. Bees and honey are both cause and effect, are at all events are mutually dependent on one another in the same way the earth and all living beings are looked upon as mutually dependent living beings presupposing the earth, and the earth presupposing living beings. This at all events seems to be the general idea of what is called the Madhuvidya, the science of honey, which Davyak communicated to the Asvins.